And we are live. Expedition to Castle Ravenloft, Session 6 in the 13th Age, Session 6. And we have a full crew tonight. We have had a little bit of, at least on my end, internet issues where people seem to stop and stutter a bit, so my apologies if that comes through on the video. And, ladies and gentlemen, who wants to sum up where we left off last week? Okay. All right, so you guys, no bonus XP for you. So, you guys had gone to the church looking for the source of the necromantic plague, and perhaps more importantly for Ashland's missing companions, and you found that the Church of Barovia was filled with what, John?
The undead. And that strange giant skeleton fiend. I don't know what we were calling it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And the chanting, of course.
Right. So you guys went around and started looking in the windows, and you saw all kinds of undead just kind of stacked in the rooms, waiting to vomit out into whatever main area is in there. And it sounded like there was some sort of ritual going on in the main area of the church. So you guys decided not to go in the front door. And so instead you circled around to the back of the church into the graveyard, and you found a cellar door. And you went down there, and that's where you found the tall, gaunt thing. And it had a few skeleton guards, which Ashlyn recognized as her former companions, and plus a few. So the thing that you guys fought was described in our sidebar here as a Slender Man, and I know tangentially who that was. I didn't look it up, but definitely you had this corpse that was sewn together, and the limbs were elongated, so it was taller and more, well, to use the word again, gaunt than you would normally see undead, but also better preserved, except that its face appeared to have also been stretched out, and its jaw you would have thought must have been unhinged with long needle teeth, which apparently were great for rending and biting straight through armor, and it moved with an uncanny precision that allowed it to avoid anybody who attempted to intercept. And did a number on Ashlyn, and tore you guys up a little bit, but you brought that down pretty quickly, and when you did, there was a scream from upstairs, and a huge discharge of unholy energy that washed over the church, and then you hear feet from the main area of the church upstairs as dozens and dozens of people stand up and start moving around, and that is where we left off. The only significant thing that I think I forgot to mention is that you see in the only lit corner of the basement a very poorly lit alchemist lab with an empty slab where it looks like this gaunt thing, this blaspheme we called it, had possibly been constructed. So you have just a little bit of time until the gods know what come down the trapdoor into the cellar. How do you want to spend it?
How much time does it appear that we have, based on what we can hear coming from upstairs and everything?
Well, I'm going to say that you probably don't have much more than a minute or two. Their steps are so many as to be confused, and you can't really tell how quickly that they're moving.
Okay. Is there any way to bar the trapdoor from down here that we can see?
Wouldn't it open outward?
Well, the trapdoor doesn't have any locks. It opens up into a room, and you've seen that room. You saw that room from the outside, and there was a single There was a single undead in there, the spellcasting one,
So
the
Deathlock.
Deathlocks. Right.
How long would it take us? Like, is there any chance of us being able to? Is there I guess what I'm asking is there loot on the alchemy table that I could potentially identify?
There are a few books, including one really old-looking one. It's kind of moldering on the outside. When you look at it, the title is The Libre Blaspheme. And also, you see what appears to be a diary from whomever it was that made this foul thing. And there are, of course, ritual components and such, but they're all of a dark and unsavory nature.
I guess if people gotta die, I may as well make a couple bucks. I'll stuff the books in my pack in case we have to run.
What kind of stairs down are they? Are these wooden stairs? Are they stone?
They are stone. They extend. It looks like the basement isn't entirely the full size of the building above. So where the trapdoor opens is next to one of the walls, and the stone steps go down alongside the wall. It's actually built in as part of the wall.
No. So I was going to suggest we bring down the stairs so they can't get us to it so easily, but that's clearly not going to work.
Bryant, did you get an answer about barring the door? Are we able to maybe bar it? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
It opens upwards.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I guess I was not paying attention. I apologize.
Yeah, it opens upwards, and it doesn't look like there's any way to bar it from down here, other than I could hang on it for a while and see if we.
And Steve, you said that we didn't have time to heal up or do a short rest or anything like that, right?
Right. You're not going to be able to do any non-magical healing, but there is like a leather strap handle on the trapdoor, so that it can be pulled closed behind anybody who comes down. There's just no lock on it.
Okay, I'm going to go basically hold that until everybody's ready, and
While you're doing that, how is everybody's hit points, real quick? You doing fine?
I'm good.
At half, but
Okay.
not too bad.
All right. I am well below staggered. John, you said that Kenthis is at half.
Yeah.
I can cast a spell at broad effect that'll allow 3 of us to spend a recovery. So I guess between Ember and Rghnar, who is hurt the worst?
Well, what about Ashlyn? She got kind of tore up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How is Ashlyn's HP?
She got tore up pretty bad.
I think I had healed her and she was doing okay, but I don't recall.
Let's see.
I think she got the only heal I spent last battle.
I think so.
I think she did get the only heal that you did, and when You know what? I apologize. I don't have that note anymore. So let's say that she's above half.
Okay.
Anyway, so that she can probably take a hit as long as it's not another one of those things.
Okay. Well, that said, I'd rather give it to either Ember or Rghnar. I think if that's the case.
Full.
You're at full. What about Rghnar?
I'm down 12.
Okay.
So I honestly think it's probably better for Ashlyn.
Okay.
It was almost a waste.
I would agree with you there then. So I guess how about this? How about both of you guys, since you guys are both big, strong fighters, both of you guys go try to pull that door down against them, and then I'll cast this healing spell down here and get, I guess, Ashlyn and the caster ready in case they make it past you guys. And then I can always join you if I need to, or I can cast spells from down here also if I have to.
You might want to give him a talk about that blaspheme book he just pocketed.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a stern
That's a-
talking to before I heal him about the heresy that he just put into his
Don't
I
worry,
pocket.
smell
I'm
a
just
book
gonna sell
burning.
it.
I'm
Yeah,
just gonna sell it to somebody else to create one of these monstrosities.
Pretty
Tell you,
much.
hey, Kenthis, I will totally heal you, but I need to see that book real quick.
When you say see, do you mean take permanently or just borrow?
I'm just gonna hold. I just want to look at it, make sure that it's not dangerous or anything, and if it's
Alright.
not dangerous, I'll give it back to you.
All right, there's a lending fee, but you can pay it later. So here you go. I'll hand you the book.
All right.
Is there like a what kind of weapons did the skeletons or skeletons that we fought last time? What did they have?
Yes, and I believe they had spears.
I want to slide a spear through the leather strap. I assume that is it like a loop or is it like just a strip of leather?
It's a loop of leather that has been riveted or nailed to the wood. So yeah, that would effectively lock it for make it more difficult for them to open.
Yeah, I mean we can still hang on to it, but if we can make them have to break something to get down, all the better.
Yep. So yeah, that was spears. So you've got 2 or 3 of them that you can use to, the loop will accommodate up to 2 of them through the loop.
Yeah, let's get a couple of them in there.
All right. So you jam up the trap door, and not a moment too soon, because after you put it in and angle it so that you can get the ends against to brace, it rattles, and you hear somebody on the other side weeping and cursing, and whoever it is, they're struggling in vain. But they certainly sound more. They certainly sound like they are speaking an actual language, but with great grief in their voice. So it doesn't sound like an undead, or if it is, it's an intelligent one. And you haven't run into anything like that yet in town.
Let me cast a spell real quick before we do anything, just in case it's a trick. That's the only thing I think of, because I'm sure we're probably going to end up opening that, and if it's a trap, I'd rather us be healed up. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
You would have had the time to do that, yes.
Okay. Well, I cast Mighty Healing, so Kenthis, me, and Ashlyn can spend a recovery plus 8.
All right.
All right, so
Is there any way?
we've jammed. Go ahead.
The opal does not have X-ray, correct?
No,
Is
the
there
opal
any
does not allow you to see through things.
Okay. If there was a strong magical force on the other side of the door, would I be able to see it with the opal?
You wouldn't need the opal to do that. That's the sort of thing that you might be able to feel or detect tied in with your magical arcane background, especially since you chose a background that deals with ley lines, because I think that would, if you could sense and locate ley lines, that would be pretty much the definition of sensing and locating magical power.
Okay. So, short answer, yes?
Short answer, yes.
Okay. Well, I'll say, wait up, guys. Let me see if I can sense the magic. I'm going to feel the magic. I'm going to see if I can figure out what's going on up there.
All right.
And this does not cost me hit dice, correct?
No. That has nothing to do with the opal. This is just a skill check.
Oh, all right. All right.
So you're rolling with your magical background.
Yep. And do I add my level? It doesn't matter. I got a 3.
Yes, you do.
Okay. That
does
comes
matter.
out to a. I'm sorry, I'm
Does
forgetting
3
my level.
plus your level
It's
is a
4.
7.
Yes. 9.
9?
Yep.
Yeah. You're right. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
You know that there's something magical on the other side, but you couldn't tell if it was a penny that always lands face up, or if somebody was leveling the equivalent of a magical bazooka and about to blow the door off the hinges.
Well, I'm going to say right now I vote we open it. We can't let whoever's up there die if they are alive.
How about we communicate with whomever's through the door before we just blindly open it?
You know what? That's actually a smart idea.
I may be a good guy, but I'm not that stupid.
And this.
I don't know if you're a good guy, though.
Okay, fair.
All right. So, but that's an interesting idea there. That maybe that's somebody who needs saving. So, do you guys want to run with that, or do you just want to run? Because you do have an exit for the moment.
Yes. Let's learn more, so that way, if we do have to run, we have a better idea of what's going on.
All right. So, how would you guys go about learning more? I mean, you've got the books that you picked off the steps. You've got somebody wailing and banging on the door that leads down the trap door.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea.
Either way, whatever we're going to do to figure out what's going on with the trapdoor, I would like to run back to the cellar door and just keep a watch on the outside so I know if we're about to be trapped.
That sounds like a good idea. I am a trained inquisitor, so I can go ask some leading questions at the trapdoor if you'd like.
That's
Sure.
a good idea.
Go talk to
I'm gonna
your
go back.
bro.
I'm gonna go to the cellar door with Kenthis, so that way if we do have to cut our way out, we don't have the squishy wizard or a squishy sorcerer leading the way.
Good idea.
All right. How useful was the healing spell that Heinrich cast? You guys pretty much back up to full at this point?
3/4.
I rolled like crap on my recovery roll, so I'm no longer staggered, so that's good.
All right. Okay, so leading questions sounds like our most promising avenue here.
All right.
So,
Yep.
Who's there? Let's get straight to the point.
my son, what have you done to my son?
Who's your son?
Excellent question. No, I have it. All right. My son, Doru. He's come back to me, and now I think he is lost again.
He's come back to you, like from the dead?
And the voice on the other side seems to be confused for a moment, as if chatting to himself or to somebody else in the room. And he's like, "My son, is he there? Did you hurt him? Is he well?"
I'm assuming Ember is near the door with me since he didn't change position.
I'm right
Hey,
there.
I got a really bad feeling about this. I think that we need to go.
Well, we can either go or murder everybody on the other side of that door.
It does feel like heresy too. I'm of two minds on this.
There may be two. I mean, you can either let the rats fester in their own filth, or you can burn out the
Correct.
whole.
Ooh, I'm getting. The Temple of the Blazing Sun did teach me something to do with this particular type of heresy. Whenever it's so widespread and the rat nest has infested so deep that the cleansing rays of fire sometimes are the only ways to clean out the rat nest.
Yeah, dealing with hellholes, I've learned that often you don't leave much unturned. But that said, the hellholes are almost exclusively filled with demons. This may not be a pack of demons. This may just be wayward townspeople.
Yeah, no, I Can you tell me more about your son? I say through the door.
You're one of those brigands, aren't you, that waylaid him on the road?
No, I am but a humble servant and messenger of God.
Of God? Of God? What kind of God would take my son away from me? Again! And he starts raving and ranting, and the effort to try and dislodge the door increase, but now it doesn't sound like the same frantic pummeling and pulling that it was before. Now you hear this rhythmic, heavy pounding of several fists on the trapdoor at one time, as if several people are trying to just break through it all at once.
Is that something we can hear from over by the cellar door?
Oh yeah, it's a concerted booming as like a bunch of people banging on the drum at the same time, except it's the floor.
I yell back, start a fire, we're getting the hell out of here.
I agree. Let's burn out this rat nest. The heresy has sunk too deep in here.
I'm sure that alchemical lab has something really flammable that we could throw on the fire.
Kenthis, figure something out.
I think there were only books on there.
No, there were alchemical components as well.
Oh, I didn't.
Mostly
All
of a
right.
foul
That's
and
what I
dark
want to check.
nature. But I was stealing these. This is loot.
All right. First of all, I want to say that every time I check something, if it's not flammable, I throw it in my pack. All right.
Well, when it comes to some of the mysterious liquids and powders, it's very hard to tell what is flammable and what is not, unless you have some sort of background that helps you deal with alchemy.
Like Arcane Guide, would that count?
I think I would want something a little bit more specific, kind of like mentioning turning lead to gold, but maybe not necessarily that far.
Okay, so is this a movable desk? Alchemy lab thing?
The desk is very heavy and old. You could probably move it if you have help, but it's
Alright.
definitely going to be a job of work.
Alright, guys, it's all flammable. Let's drag the desk over here and we're going to set it on fire. To put it beneath the trapdoor.
Well, I mean, it's stone steps leading up to it, and is the ceiling above us a wooden floor?
Yes, everywhere the ceiling above you is a wooden
You
floor.
can just do it right here. It'll go up like super quickly.
What if, though? Well, yeah, I guess it'll work. Alright. You had the torch,
It's
right?
not wooden supports.
I actually threw it on the ground, so you can just pick it up, throw it on the alchemical thing, and we can get.
Alright, everybody out. We gotta do this. I'd say everyone should leave in case this is a huge explosion. Everyone good with that?
Cleansing fire time.
Even if there's not an explosion, I don't think we want to smell the smoke or breathe in the smoke of whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
he's
anybody
getting ahead
have
of me on
a
that.
bow?
Yes,
I've got
yes,
throwing
I do.
weapons, not a bow.
I do have a bow.
Alright, what if we... I don't know. Is there a big bottle we could shoot?
You
I
know,
don't maybe I'm stretching.
I can tear a little bit of cloth from your robe, wrap it around an arrow, light that on fire, and shoot it at the alchemical lab from the hallway in the cellar door region, and that way we can skedaddle quicker.
I agree,
You don't
but I
even
think
you
your
don't even
shirt
have to
looks
be in
pretty
here.
flammable. Your shirt looks a lot more flammable than my robe. It's my only...
It's made of chain.
Well,
While you guys are
Make a really hot
discussing this,
fire.
you hear the sounds. I think Kenthis is the closest to the entrance from the way you came in. His back is turned so he can look in and talk to you all. Oh, actually, no.
Oh, no,
He
I'm
went
at the
in to
table.
inspect
I'm
the
back.
desk. No, but okay. A shadow
I'm
falls
back
into
at
the already dark room as someone
Aaron's
starts blocking the sunlight to the cellar.
Damn it. Yeah, Rghnar is back at the cellar door. He's been there.
Okay. Well, in that case, Rghnar, you would see one of the undead start shambling. You would hear them fall as they climb over the wall to get into the my mind and words today, into the graveyard. And so you actually hear it before you see it, and you know that the dead are coming around to block off your escape route.
I yell back at the others. We've got to go now. They're starting to stream around and cut us off.
All right, let's get the F out
I
of
grab the
Dodge.
torch,
Yeah. Let's just
throw
throw
it
it.
onto the alchemical lab.
After I
and
step back. After I step
I
back.
start running. I don't even care. Just start running.
I'm
As it
gonna
happened,
beat feet too.
there's no workplace where things have not been spilled from time to time. So Heinrich throws the torch right in the right spot because the ground having soaked up so much spilled powder and alchemical things, just the whole area just seems to the floor catches fire immediately. And it's not too long before some of the things on the desk start to bubble and smoke and react very quickly. So you guys beat feet out the door just
Boot the
ahead
speed, don't
of
hang now.
this foul, multicolored smoke. The color of bruises just starts welling out and filling the room and streaming out behind you before the massive explosion rocks the whole place, and you hear crashing as part of the floor and all the pews in the main area start falling down into the basement, and the fire just all of a sudden, just all of a sudden expands and starts filling the church in such a rapid pace. You've never seen a fire take this quickly before, unless you happen to see dragon fire. But, not too many people boast that. But you do have a handful of the undead to deal with. Unfortunately, they seem to be moving slower now that there's nobody directing them, and they're kind of listless. So unless you get close to one of them, they're probably not going to react to your presence. They seem to not even know you're there unless you get within like 5 or 10 feet of them.
I'd
Let's
like
let's get out of here before anything else happens.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
Consider
If I
it
might-
cleansed.
as we're leaving, I'd like to smack one on the head just to prove that I can hit things.
I don't have any problem with that.
Just because you phrased it that way, you have to roll for it.
Okay, here we go. And this is with my staff. Whoop. Okay, well I just lost my die. I'll roll a different one.
This doesn't
Okay.
bode well for you.
Alright, it's a 13 plus 6, so 19.
Oh, yes. Yes, you can hit things.
Okay. Do I roll damage?
If you like.
Okay, I'll do that. 11.
Well, it doesn't kill it. Not by far. Only 11? What do you hit it with?
A staff.
You remember you get to roll 1 per level, right? 1 die per level?
That I did not know. This is the first time I've hit with a melee attack, though, so nothing lost.
Oh, alright.
Does the modifier
Yeah, what-
apply to each die rolled, or just the end result?
Just total.
The end result.
Okay. $17.
Yeah, you haven't even staggered it.
Okay.
You hit it.
But you can easily outrun it.
Alright,
If you're
I guess I
looking
just
for-
sort of poked it with the tip of my staff. I'll just
Alright.
leave. I'm done with
So the
this.
question is, where are you going to next?
Let's go back to Barovia. Like the hamlet.
Wait, can we see whatever was coming to the door? Like the...
Well,
shadow.
if you attempt to look inside the window now, all you're going to see is flame and smoke.
Oh, no, I mean
uh,
whatever was coming to the cellar door. Or was that
Well,
just the zombies?
Those were the zombies.
Oh, okay, sorry. Alright.
Well, there were the zombies and at least somebody who can actually talk. But you don't
No,
know who that was.
I mean the back door that we just exited through.
Oh, no, that was just zombies.
Okay.
There's just 2 or 3 of them that managed to make it over the wall. They may have been consciously directed there to start, but once the fire took hold and the explosion collapsed some of the floor, and the smoke filled everything, whatever it was that was directing these undead seems to have stopped, or have been stopped.
Well, I say that we reconvene in the hamlet. We've helped Ashlyn out. Maybe we can get a little bit more information about where else to look and what else is going on now that we've maybe stopped the zombies from attacking the city.
Okay.
Maybe we've curried some favor with the townsfolk.
Well, well,
all
as
of us
you
but
walk
Kenthis.
down, the church is on the outskirts of town, and what happens here is that as you start walking back into town down the lane, a horde of townspeople are approaching with buckets and water, and they're like, "The church is on fire! What happened?"
We got there. There was also undead.
Being that this is a town of one god and one church, you burned down their only place of worship?
Wait, we gotta lie. We gotta say someone else burnt it down.
We don't need to lie at all. We can tell them the truth.
It was infested with undead.
It was infested with undead. We believe that the root cause of the undead, who was ever controlling them, attacking the town, was holed up there. We saw a horrible heresy, an abomination that would make your god weep, and fought it and vanquished it in the cellar.
I mean, they're still not going to be happy, but they're probably not going to lynch us.
No. I mean, maybe we stopped the zombies from attacking the city, so maybe...
The church was clearly corrupted.
Yeah, we did them a favor.
Yes.
All right, so with Ashlyn to vouch for you, they reluctantly, because they know her better than you, they reluctantly accept that maybe this was a necessary thing, that you burnt down their only place of worship. But a lot of people are asking after the Father Danovich because nobody's seen him for several days, and they are wondering if you managed to rescue him or if you happen to know what his fate was.
I think we can make an educated guess.
He was ranting about how his dead son had been returned to him, and how God had forsaken him by killing his son.
That starts making some sense to some other villagers because they happen to know that his son was killed a couple of months ago, supposedly by bandits, and his mangled, half-eaten body was brought in, and the father was actually quite broken up about it and was inconsolable even after the burial. And of course, being the only cleric in town, he had to preside over his own son's funeral, which was a horrible, horrible thing for him to do. But they all presumed him dead and buried in the ground. They never imagined that. They still can't say. There must be some mistake. There's no way that this man would have created such foul abominations that you speak of. But on the same token, look at all the events of the last week. Nobody can really likes it, but they really can't say. They really just can't believe it, despite that.
Grief can drive a man mad. I've seen many a person throw their life and their beliefs away over the loss of a loved one or their family or even their friends.
Well, we do have a diary and a book about blasphemes, so I'm just saying we may have proof. I mean,
Indeed, if
that
you
these things are connected, maybe.
Well, if you do a very cursory examination of the diary, you will find that it does indeed belong to the former Father Danovich, and that he mentions the Libre Blaspheme, but the further back that you flip into the diary, the less and less coherent the writings and ramblings seem to be. There may be other things in there, but that's all you get from a quick glance.
Okay. What about a cursory glance about this Libris Blaspheme?
Well, you definitely see diagrams that might suggest how to construct the physical body of this thing, and that you assume that all the other things there are the rituals and the components necessary to return it to life. or to whatever state that is, that it would start to do things. But it would take some study to figure out exactly how this works and exactly what it is that it had been created. Beyond the name, I mean.
Kenthis, I'm going to hold on to this book. This is clearly evil.
I
Capital
recommend we
E.
burn it right now.
Well, I mean, we got to know what we're up against. So maybe read it and
That's
get that, and then destroy it, because this is very evil. I think
You selectively destroy heresy.
Well, I mean, you got to know what you're up against,
Right.
and then afterwards,
I get
book
it.
burning.
Yeah.
All right. So later on, if we get any amount of downtime, if you want to spend more time with either of these books, just let me know, and then I'll do a little write-up for in-between sessions to try and give you a little additional information. The most important thing is that, yes, you do get a divinely evil vibe from the Libre Blaspheme. This book is definitely, magical in nature and should be treated with the utmost caution. You would have picked up on that right away, and your reaction is spot on for that. But I'm saying it officially anyway, so that you can
Okay.
take whatever precautions you like.
Want to wrap it in a cloth?
I mean, it's not burning my skin or anything.
Just saying.
No, but it definitely reeks of death, and the book is always cool to the touch. It hasn't seemed to have warmed up now that you've brought it into the sun. All right, so going back into town, not a problem. You avoided not turning the crowd into an angry mob. Good job. And you can find rooms at the Blood of the Vine Tavern, and the rates are, we're hand-waving that stuff, you should be able to afford your stay for as long as necessary. The Ashlyn, of course, is now that she's back in town and she's not fighting for her life, withdraws to mourn the loss of her friends and to perform whatever rituals of remembrance and such that she feel necessary. At least the bodies have been burnt, and she doesn't have to worry about that part.
Burnt.
So she's going to be
as a sun
unavailable for a
worshipper,
little while. Yes.
I was making fun of John.
Oh, okay. About it being appropriate.
Sorry.
that they
No.
were burnt.
Oh, he was laughing that they were burnt, and I was saying it was appropriate because she's a sun worshipper too.
Oh, she is? Okay.
Yeah, she worships Palor.
Well, I just meant that it
Yes.
was less of a burning and more like we killed them and then blew up
Yeah.
where they were.
Well,
Not
somebody
very
else
respectful.
We re-killed them.
Yeah.
All right. So, the things that you had been made aware of prior to now, Ashlyn, who spoke of her search for the Sun Sword, but she's going to be unavailable for a short time while she mourns the loss of her friends. You can always revisit her in a day or two and maybe get more information on that. You have met the drunk son of the Burgomaster, Ishmar, I think. Ismark, who apparently is a sloppy drunk and did not participate in the defense of the town at all. You do know that the Burgomaster died recently. In fact, he had been burned that very morning after suffering a mysterious death in his own home. And then, of course, you're not entirely sure what's happened to the multitudes of undead that after you broke the siege of the center of town. But if the reaction of the zombies that you saw at the church are any indication, they're probably much less dangerous now and perhaps much more easily corralled and disposed of if they can be located.
Okay. So, do we want to investigate what happened to the burgomaster? I mean, do we care
That
that
seems
much?
like. I mean, we were requested to come here by a letter from the Burgomeister. I mean, we didn't only find out he was dead after we were here.
Yeah, I guess we can try and find whoever's second in charge or whatever.
Yeah, go talk to Ismark, the drunkard. Maybe not let Kenthis insult him this time.
Well, Ismark cannot be found at the tavern.
Whoa, surprise! No.
Someone has, now that the streets are clear for the moment, someone has carried him home to the opposite side of town from where the church blazes, and that is a small mansion where the burgomaster lived with his family. He is survived by his son and by a daughter, whom is much better regarded simply by virtue of being sober.
I think how that works. Yeah, maybe we should go talk to her and see what she knows and wait for Ismar to sober up a little bit. Maybe.
All right.
Hey, who knows? Maybe he was in line to be the next burgomaster.
It sounds like I imagine that the rest of town might prefer that. But
Yeah.
I don't know how the line of succession actually works.
I don't. How does
That
is this like a mayorship? I mean, I guess we don't really have any way of knowing, but
It might be
Well-
it's probably an appointed position.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You don't really know, but you can. A little light questioning about, and what comes to you is that they used to hold elections back when there was a master of the castle that was managing their overall affairs. But over the years, since the castle became less and less involved with the day-to-day affairs of Barovia, the burgomaster position became that of like lesser nobility, and it became an inherited position. And since the family that has had the Kolyanas have had very good stewardship of the town, as a rule, there hasn't been any opposition to that. It just kind of fell into it. But now that the burgomaster is dead, traditionally it's patriarchy, so nobody wants the son in charge, and nobody's quite convinced that maybe they can stretch their culture enough to accommodate letting Irina take over. Yes, it is Irina. I keep getting her name mixed up with another fantasy name.
Well, maybe after we investigate more, they'll have a better idea of who to take over. Quite possibly because several more of the options will be dead.
Are you suggesting we assassinate Ismark? I'm not sure I'm okay with
it. I'm just keeping our options
In the
open.
name of progress? I don't know.
Well, the Burgermeister died very mysteriously. For all we know, the drunk could have done it. It doesn't seem likely, but we need to keep all of our options open when we come into this. That's all I'm saying. Assassinations are after we have gathered the intelligence.
you know, I do defer to my elders.
And there ain't nobody elder here than me.
That's right. You've been around for like 500 years.
I know. It's more like 300.
Okay.
Don't make me older than I am.
All right, so the burgomaster's mansion has a wrought metal fence surrounding it, and the gardens have been trampled and untended for some time. In fact, it looks like there are weeds and such growing up as if they couldn't afford the maintenance for a long time. The fence gates are kind of busted in and wrenched off on the one side. It looks like a weight of a great many bodies had perhaps torn it from its mooring on the fence. And the doors and windows on the bottom floor of the mansion are all boarded up and covered with what might be the backs of furniture and heavy bookcases and such. So they're barricaded in pretty good. And also the distance from the town. They're in town. They're not off a little bit, just like the church was, but they're on the opposite side of town from the church. So unless somebody ran down there to check them out after the break of the siege in the center, they may not even know that the siege has been broken for the day.
I think we should take it on ourselves to do that.
Sure, let's do that.
Careful, I don't think we're undead.
Well, let's not groan and like shamble. Hey, it's okay.
If it's okay with everyone else, I think I might actually go back and hang at the tavern so I don't create a conflict just by being there. I feel like that might make him angry if he sees me again. So I'll head back to the tavern.
Okay.
All right. Any idea how you'd like to use your time while you're back at the tavern?
Read that diary.
Yeah, all right.
You're
I'll
going
read
to hand over the forbidden books to him.
it. No, he only took the whatever it's called.
Blasphemy.
Oh, the Libre Blaspheme? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to go through the diary, then what I'll do is after this session, and please feel free to remind me if I'm a little slow getting this to you, I'll send you an email with some of those details at the beginning of the next session. You can share those details with us as part of the recap, and we'll take it from there.
Cool.
All right. So, who's knocking on the door? Or are you knocking on the door? How do you want to go about this?
Well, we don't want them to think we're zombies, as Kenthis suggested before he left.
Let's do more than just knock on the door. Let's actually speak. Because zombies can hit the door.
Ember, you used to be a bodyguard. How did rich people like to be addressed?
Well, generally it's depending on the honorific, but it's they like to have their asses kicked. Kiss. Sorry, that was a.
All right, let's do this.
Kissed, yeah. But sir and madam usually work pretty well.
How about you lead then, since you know these rich snobs.
All right, I'll go and with my trusted companions, I'll knock on the door and say we're looking to notify the masters of the house that this is that the siege has been cleared for the day and all is safe.
All right. So, a young woman leans out of the one of the upper windows and looks down. And while she does not recognize you, she can clearly see that you guys have seen some action and that you're not undead. So she waves, and after, 5 or 10 minutes, you hear the movement of heavy furniture or other heavy things that are in front of the main door. And it opens just enough that if you were to take off a breastplate, that you could get in, assuming that, for those of you who are wearing heavier armor. But she doesn't apparently have the strength with her few servants and herself to actually unbarricade fully. They just get it so that you can squeeze in if you're unarmored.
I'm gonna kind of gently, not brutally or anything, just kind of push on the door and see if I can open it up a little bit more.
Because I know my own strength. I'm just going to use my little finger to push the door open. All right.
Let me help you with that.
What is your strength score, by the way?
It's actually only 18.
Only 18.
Only.
Max out at 20 is immortal.
I think Heinrich is actually stronger than me, but
I am.
For a brief moment, you put your back into it and very gently open it up a few more inches just by pushing on the door and levering it open. And you hear this horrendous scraping noise as if you're tearing up the floor. And then you stop. But then it's already open wide enough that you can sneak in.
All right, I'll sidle my way in and kind of wave the other two on in.
Great diplomacy there.
Ooh, this woman's floor. Her dad just died.
See, that's why she won't notice, because her dad just died.
Right. Okay. She'll notice after though.
After we left, she'll notice, what the hell did they do to my floors?
I think they robbed me.
Given the mud and other indescribables we're about to track in, it could be worse.
Yeah, I'll make sure to wipe my boots as best as I can before I go in.
On the wooden floors.
On
that?
this ancient rug.
Sorry, I got ghoul phlegm all over the place.
Oh God, yes.
Oh,
Ember is stenched, right?
No, that's me.
Ember Kenthis.
No, Kenthis is. I dodged. I blocked it with my shield. And...
Yes, that's
Another great idea for Kenthis not to be there.
So am I like clearing out the tavern right now? Is that what's going on?
Yeah,
Drinking by
yeah.
yourself.
drag you outside and hosed you down.
Nobody can stand to be within 10 feet of you, and at 15 or 20 feet, it's just so unpleasant. People give you these sharp looks, and they just stare far, far away. Nobody wants to be within like 50 feet of you or an enclosed room with you or anything. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, while there are rooms to be let, it's going to take 3 times the normal rate to get you a room. And what it is kind of like this little shack on top of the tavern, like where they store supplies in for feeding the pigeons, if they have pigeon shack up there.
I don't want to create any more conflict, so can I just sort of wave, like, be like, sorry guys, and just walk out the door and like read outside or something?
In the city park.
A nearby tree? Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to like walk 30 feet away from the. It's like the smoking laws in New York. You must be X number of feet away from the entrance.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're just gonna kill the business.
Oh, poor
Yeah, I'll
Kenthis.
leave. Yeah.
Poor John.
Everybody
you just
loves
have no
me.
luck, man.
I know. It's awful.
All right. So when you guys come in, you're standing there in front of Irina Kolyana, who is the burgomaster's daughter. She is wearing dark-colored clothing as if she were in mourning, which makes sense. But she has buckled over that some pieces of leather armor, and she has a sword belt that she wears as if she knows how to use it. And also with her are a couple of servants, including an old butler who has what looks like a handle from a hoe. And he gives you this sour look up and down, like if you weren't in the middle of this war against undead, he would have never even deigned to open the door and speak to you, because you're obviously not the right sort of person to be making calls on the mansion. So,
It's definitely a good thing Kenthis isn't here then.
Yeah. I'm going to address Irene and, Miss, first off, let me express our condolences to you about the loss of your father. It sounded like he was very much loved in this town. And also, we hope that your brother is doing better than he was last night. We wanted to let you know that the siege was broken for today, and that Ashlyn, the paladin, sent us in your directions, indicating that you might know a little bit more about the reasons that we were sent here. We received a letter via one of the travelers. I forget what was the by one of the traveling bands visited where we were staying and brought us here with a letter from your father.
Matthews.
Yeah, Matthew, this gentleman named Matthews, and we were wondering if you could shed some light on why your father was so desperate for help that he would send out calls to far and wide for assistance.
She asks if she could see the letter that you have.
I think Heinrich has it right now, but
I don't have it written down. I'm assuming that we still have it. I don't think Matthews
Yeah,
ran off
I
with
would assume that you have it.
it. Yeah, I unfurl it from my cloak pouch or something and hand it over to her. Yeah.
All right. So she
Here
takes a
ye,
moment
here ye.
to. So she takes a moment to examine the letter and the seal, and she verifies that yes, this is her father's hand, and this is something that he wrote. And she was aware that he had been talking about this course of action, but not that the letters had actually gone out. So it takes her by surprise to see this, and of course it's a reminder of her father and the things that he was trying to do and all of this. And for a moment, she's just really quiet as she walls up for a moment. And then she takes a breath and she welcomes you to Barovia, and I am sorry that you find us in such dire straits at the moment. Unfortunately, my father, the Burgomaster, is dead, as you had heard, and we have not yet chosen his successor. No doubt you would want to... No doubt we will do our best to keep my father's promises and to reward you as best as we can. Is that the church on fire?
I'm not sure so much on fire as smoldering, but yes.
She pauses for a moment as she regards the column of smoke coming up from the other side of town, and she says, "Well, I look forward to hearing about your the breaking of the siege. And would you like to come in? Do you need to eat? Is there anything that we can do for you while we discuss the situation?"
I haven't eaten since we left Anil. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, a nice meal would be very welcome at this point.
I agree.
All right. So her servants labor to close the door and move one or two of the lighter pieces of furniture back in front.
I'll help him with that.
Okay. Well, the butler gives you such a look. He gives you such a look that makes you go like, "Whoa!" and you just step back for a moment. It's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, dude, you got
Okay.
it. You got it."
Yeah, you're in charge. I got that. Okay.
And you follow Irina into a sitting room where, shortly after the furniture stops moving, the butler and one of the other attendants start bringing in some very simple cakes and cheeses and a little bit of cold meat. They're really not like, it's kind of like a luncheon sort of thing. And there's not a heck of a lot of anything at the moment because they've been dealing with all this other stuff. And how much are you going to tell her about your circumstances of being here? Are you gonna assume she knows everything that we've done in session, or?
I say we just dish. I see no reason to hold anything back from her. I mean, we've been honest with everybody so far, so.
Yeah, there's no reason to hold back at this point. We
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, I mean, we tell her everything.
Okay.
Probably with too much detail, but we tell her all.
So she listens in first, kind of staring off into space and half disinterested. That she's absorbing it, but it's almost like she's thinking about other stuff too. But the weirder your tale gets, the more she pays attention to it, because it's like a story from a far-off land. This town of Anil and the elves, and the situation with the forest where they were living in, this is all alien and news to her. It doesn't sound like anything within days' ride around here. Certainly it doesn't sound like anything that she's read about in her books, except the mists. The mists are actually a well-known phenomenon here in Barovia, and nobody who has attempted to travel through the mists have ever returned telling stories of the towns beyond. They always seem to get turned around somehow. And what's more, it's not that many people who even try. It seems like the majority of people don't even know that the mists are there, talk about the outside world as if it's been going on forever, which is a very curious development. There's only very few people who seem to realize that there's this barrier that can't be penetrated, that this area, that this valley can't really be escaped.
Has it
It's
been
just-
like that for as long as you can remember, or are the mists new?
The mists have always been there for as long as she can remember, and since she's done a lot of reading in the Burgomaster's library, it seems that from time to time there are members of her lineage who seem to allude to the fact, but it's never really discussed. And that's how she gets the sense of time.
I ask her about the Vistani and tell her that we were told by the elves that like the Vistani would occasionally come visit them in times past, and if she knows anything about that, maybe they're capable of traveling through the mist. Since I mean, we met one of them who brought us here.
Well, the Vistani, she gives you a nod and says, "Indeed, I've wondered about that myself. The Vistani seem to be the only people who are bringing anything new into this area, except when we get strange travelers like yourself. And then those people, I'm sorry to say, tend not to leave. Most people who find their way into here are stuck here, but yet the Vistani still seem to bring in things from time to time that I suspect they don't have the means to manufacture or create on their own, and certainly no one in Barovia has done so. Strange dyes, herbs, animals that we've not seen the like of, and sometimes woven fabric that's much finer than the best loom in town can do. And they sell these things and they trade them in town, but it's not often that they come in with these new things. It's only like an occasional thing.
How often are they here?
The Vistani?
Yes.
Well, there's quite a large encampment just outside of town, a few miles, and they seem to always be Vistani in the area. Every now and then you hear of a wagon wandering down the road in one direction or another, but nobody has ever made any mention of where else these wagons may be going to or from.
Interesting.
I think that's a place to investigate.
Also, when did was your father concerned about anything else other than these undead hordes that have been descending on your town, or was that his main concern on bringing help here?
She goes a little stone-faced again, and then she seems to make a decision where she says, my father was dealing with a potential suitor of mine, and they had quite an argument a few nights ago where my father stood up to him and told him to leave. Apparently, the young gentleman has been introducing himself as the master of the castle. And when he would not leave, my father took one of our most beloved treasures, the icon of Ravenloft, and wielded it in front of the stranger's face. And there was a flash of holy light that drove the stranger back and out of our home. We've not seen him since. But since then, we've been hearing strange noises around the house at night. And then, suddenly, my father has died.
And do you feel that these two events are connected?
I believe so, because the icon is not to be found anywhere in the house.
Lady Arena.
We discovered the theft when we discovered that my father was killed, or had died.
Lady Arena, sorry if it brings up harsh memories, but how exactly did your father die?
My father was found dead in his bed, with a very pale complexion, and his body was light, as if he had lost a great deal of weight. And there was no mark upon his body but a single drop of blood on his pillow. So, we did not make a more thorough investigation of it because with the recent turn of events in town, the dead are known to rise fairly quickly, and so we moved with all haste to... She chokes up for a moment as she brings herself to burn his body and set his soul to rest.
A reasonable precaution, if not an enlightening one.
So she begins talking a little bit more about just the defense of the town and how things might be repaired and what might be best done to handle the remains of the undead, since they seem to be leaderless and otherwise not so well motivated at the moment to be attacking anyone. But there's still room here for you to either jump in and make suggestions as to how the town may further solidify its victory, or you can ask questions about other things that you may want to follow up upon. She did mention she has a library, so that is now potentially available for you to do some research. And of course, you've got a few more ideas of what might be going on around here that you can try and follow up or focus on one of those things.
I'm going to ask her what her thoughts about this suitor were, whether she found him to be acceptable or not.
Well, he was a young enough looking man. He was a suitable age, I suppose, and if he truly is the master of the castle, he certainly dressed the part. He claimed to have a great deal of wealth to share. Charming, I guess, but he seemed very obsessive and insistent when it came to myself, because it seems as if he looked at me as though I reminded him of someone. And I've no mind to be a stand-in for unreturned affections from another woman.
And do you think you will require protection tonight in case whoever was scuttling about your grounds comes back? I understand that you seem very capable, and your servants seem very capable as well, but we are professional.
She thinks about it for a moment. I'm not certain if there's anywhere, if this was indeed murder, I don't know of any place in town that would be safer than here. Of course, if there is a murderer, they've already managed to slip in and out despite our barricades. So I suppose taking on a protector is not out of the question, but I would ask that we keep this within the terms of the offer my father has promised you, as the town is going to sorely need any funds that it can retain in order to rebuild and provide services to our people.
It sounds fair. Sounds just like an extension of the commission that brought us here.
Exactly so. That is how she would ask you to treat that.
Okay. We have a fellow member that is indisposed currently, but he might wish to take a look at the library to see if he can gain any knowledge once he's no longer engaged in his other studies.
By all means, you're all welcome to lodge here while you're providing protection and serving the town. We do have, and then she doesn't see him, but the stink eye from the butler in the corner. I would check those mattresses and pillows for needles if I were you. She offers rooms in the house so that you can stay on the premises. And that means that you guys get an upgrade. You don't have to stay in the Blood of the Vine in the center of town. But on the other hand, you're not the center of town anymore. So I'll leave it to you guys to decide how you want to split that up, or if you just all want to be in one place. But while you stay here, you are treated more or less as guests. You do have a run of the area so that you can provide some physical security. All the living quarters are on the top floor, and all the public spaces are on the bottom floor. There is a small stable out back, and being that there is no plumbing, there is also outhouses out back, a luxury that the townspeople don't have, where everything gets lugged around in chamber pots and very primitive and sometimes not working so well sewers that they dump in outside of their homes. So, you have, I see that we have in the sidebar here, or from some really nice quips, we have a list of potential plot hooks. I think I'm going to put a stomp on Murder Bros Investigations.
That's a pretty great name. What about Heresy Hunters and Stinky?
I think we'll smell that one coming from around the block. And I'm not referring to Stinky.
So I was saying, if you guys want to sleep in the manor, I could sleep in the center since I probably won't be allowed in there anyway.
Probably want to rotate through.
I can
It'd
do
be
like a
that
Paul Revere type
curled
deal.
up in the corner next to the town well.
Do we know how we can de-stink Kenthis?
That is a good question. So I believe
Because that's
that
probably
when
a good thing.
yeah, I believe that when I said that he was stenched, that we're treating this as a magical curse. So it counts against his limit for magical items, which is 1 per level. And also, it's not going to be as simple as washing it off in order to get... Yes, let us try our usual approach.
Light 'em on fire.
I still have the ritual components, which might be considered a waste, but if it becomes a real problem, we could always go to that.
Why would
We
use
can also
them
talk
on
to the
food?
Vistani.
Yeah.
That's true. Or I could just remain stinky, because, I mean, that way people won't talk to me and I can't piss them off
Hey,
anymore.
it may have a use. We can maybe, twist your stinkiness to, our benefit somehow.
Right?
Blend in
Somehow.
with some ghouls and some...
Well, rituals definitely have a possibility, so if you want to, in between sessions, send me an idea as to what spell that you might want to extrapolate that from, or what sort of things that you think would make good ritual components for a spell to destinkify. Because certainly, I think after being infected with the bog from the eternal stench, it shouldn't be something that gets removed so easily.
Actually, if I have time while they're gone, could I find a vacant house? And I mean, could I potentially figure out if one has a zombie in it? I would like to conduct a test.
Finding a house
It can all go wrong, can it?
Finding a house with a zombie in it is not impossible. It's rather likely.
Okay.
You'll certainly hear reports of it as people try to return to their homes to see if it's safe to retrieve other items or to get more things to reinforce the barricade, as they're not quite convinced that better safe than sorry, let's put it that way.
All right. I announced that if anyone wants to have me exterminate a zombie, I'm gonna clear one house right now because I gotta figure something out.
Nobody volunteers their house because they saw what you did with the church.
Right. Okay. Can I just walk around until I hear thumping?
Yes.
Okay. Do I find one?
Yes. Yes.
All right. I would like to walk in and move slowly and see how much the zombie seems to care if I get close to it. Because my stench, maybe. I don't know.
With your stench, you do indeed smell as though you are one of the undead, and perhaps it does mask whatever sense that they use to discover that, oh hey, yum. You stink so bad you even throw off a zombie's appetite.
Nice.
Put it that way. So, yeah, you seem to be able to move freely around them. As long as you don't attack it, you can get much closer than some of your other comrades would have been able to do.
All right. Well, I'm gonna change this from a curse to a blessing, and we're not changing this. I like it.
Okay.
All right. So one of the things that we need to do, since we're treating this as a magical item or a permanent enchantment, we should still probably come up with some sort of quirk to go along with this. Now, being that this is ghoul stench, it would maybe be too easy to say that you're constantly washing or that you have the appetite of a ghoul, either in volume or in your preferred eating. But if you guys have any suggestions as to what Kenthis' quirk should be for this, we can address that now. That is up to you.
I think I've actually got a suggestion. Since Kenthis is, our sorcerers, and typically in like D&D type games, sorcerers have high charisma, right? So they make decent party faces, and that unfortunately is not the case for Kenthis.
Uh-huh.
So my suggestion for the quirk for this ghoul curse blessing thing is that it makes him a little bit feral. So maybe a little bit less socially apt because he's a little more.
So no difference.
He has more. He taps in a little bit more to that raptor brain, that reptile brain than his mammalian brain.
Okay.
All right.
If that makes sense, just as like a jumping off point.
Sure.
No, I think that's a good one. I think
Yeah.
I think you can expand it to not just be social, though. So it's like you eat your food much more raw, you eat it with your hands, that sort of thing. You just take big bites out of barely cooked meat and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd take that.
All right. So it does essentially, in a way, make you more ghoul-like, beyond the stench, because you've kind of accepted it, made it a part of yourself.
Hooray.
But that doesn't
Will this
reduce.
ever wear off?
Probably not.
Okay. Well, at some point I may want to get rid of it.
At some point, you may find yourself surrounded, ambushed by townspeople who are going to perform a ritual of cleansing upon you.
Oh, God.
I think they'll take my suggestion in terms of how to cleanse you at that point.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I'll stretch it as long as it'll go, and if it becomes a problem, we'll figure out how to get rid of it.
All right. So, Yes, if you were to house at the mansion, you're definitely staying in the stables. They're empty at the moment anyway, so you wouldn't be upsetting the horses. This is primarily the reason why they're not offering you a shack next to the pigsty or the chicken coop, because you would upset the animals.
Are there any flat-roofed houses near the center of town?
Nearly all the house roofs are flat.
All right. If they're vacant and no one's gonna make a problem out of it, I'll start setting up a little tent lean-to on top of those.
Well, to be honest, you could probably just take one of the now vacant houses.
I don't want to be on the ground.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that could be your house, and if you want to be on the roof, you can be on the roof.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, so I'll hang a sign that says Kenthis' house. And then I'll sleep on the roof just to weird people out.
Alright, are you trying to stay near the center of town, or are you trying to be
Yeah,
more on the outskirts somewhere?
I basically want to have a watch on the center without being exposed to too much danger.
Absolutely, you can do that. Alright. So we still have, let's say, half an hour left to the session. How would you guys like to go from here? You've got, again, that handy list in the chat room of potential plot lines to follow up with. And all I need is for you guys to pick one.
I'd kind of like to go talk to the Vistani, but that's just after getting, I don't know, the runaround from them before. I don't quite really trust them too much, but that's just me.
The question I have for that is, what do we want to learn from them?
Well, they seem to, I mean, just from our two different tales, like, we were told in Yule, like, I mean, well, heck, we had one of them come get us and bring us here, and then she's telling us that, like, nobody can leave. So that seems, I don't know, that seems weird to me. It's at least an avenue of investigation.
No, I agree. I think it's something we need to look into. I'm just trying to think about priorities here.
Right.
What's the thing with the Sun Sword? I think that actually, out of character, that was before I came in, I guess.
Yes.
I don't remember about that.
Go ahead, Pierce.
Oh, I don't. Let's see if I can find it in my notes real quick. Ashlyn was wanting to look for it.
Right.
Yes, that's why she and her companions came into Barovia, but they were sidetracked by the zombie thing.
So what was the thing that blinded the guy? I'm sorry, I missed a
Icon of
little.
Ravenloft, I think.
Yes, it's a holy icon. It's a platinum disc that actually. Remember a couple sessions back, Pierce, you asked me about the seal that the Burgermaster used on his invitation. Let us call it.
Yes.
That was a reproduction of the icon.
Oh, okay.
So the icon is a platinum disc that has that image on it, which, if I recall correctly, is kind of like a shield with a raven on it, but instead of having a sun, it just had the rays coming out from the bottom going up as if a sunrise behind it. I think that's how I described it. And it's about the size of a dinner plate. You're getting this information from Irina. And but it could be held with both hands and displayed that way as something that you could show to people, like holding up an icon. The icon, she'll tell you, is an ancient artifact that belongs to the Church of Barovia, but since the
Former.
main... Well, there's a funny story to that, which you'll learn over the course of the next day or two, as you do your other things and looking around and have conversations, asking about stuff to get the lay of the land. The Church of Barovia originally used to be centered from a chapel in the castle, and so the church that just burned down is actually a fairly recent thing as people have kind of given up on having access to the castle, and someone has stepped forward to be a priest again, that they built that church just within the last generation or so in order to accommodate that recent movement going back to that religion. But the icon has always been with the burgomaster since its removal from the castle. And she had no idea that it may have had mystical properties beyond just being a holy symbol until her father used it against her suitor just a few days ago.
I actually am curious about it, because she says that he held it up and, like, drove him out, like, with, like, holy light. So, like, I was joking in the comments that he was a vampire just based on how it died and everything. And, I mean, we all kind of beat around the bush. We know what Ravenloft is and everything. But did it look like... I mean, did it look like what Heinrich would know turn undead looks like? Like how
Yes.
Okay.
That could be a manifestation of turn undead.
Okay. Like, okay. I'm trying not to pierce metagame. I'm just trying to figure out if Heinrich would be like, that does sound odd, you know, like...
No, that makes sense. I mean,
Okay.
you are a cleric. You have experience with undead beyond what she seems to have. And so you're trying to piece together from the clues of her story what it is that she may have actually faced. And for something to be turned back by a holy symbol, it's almost always a demon, a devil, or undead. So, it's some sort of turning spell that makes sense.
Seems to me he's trying to get revenge on the town. Like, that would be my first guess for driving him away. So my vote would be to go after him.
If that's the case, and he's like so... If that's the case, I think that our first inclination of protecting, like, her was really smart.
Right.
Because, like, he had to be left... This dude had to be forced out forcefully, like, with magic, with, like, clerical magic. So, like, leaving her alone at all seems like a bad idea. So, I mean, maybe even having her come with us if we go elsewhere. I mean, she clearly looks capable. She looks like she knows how to handle a sword. She's got armor, and maybe, I mean, maybe it'll help get her mind off of things. I mean, she's had a rough few days.
At the very least, we can see it. We can see tonight if he was after her,
Or the icon.
or the icon, or just revenge on the father.
Right, yeah.
And if we get her out of the town won't be in danger anymore.
The
Right.
problem I see is that it could be some combination thereof.
Right.
I think the thing we need to do now is more information, one way or the other. I don't disagree that this guy's probably the highest priority, but on the other hand, I don't want to just walk up to the castle and knock on the door without knowing
Right,
more
that
about
seems
what's going on.
that seems
Yeah.
unwise.
What we're up against.
Yeah, and I know Ember and I want to have words with the Castellan for just abandoning these people,
Yeah.
anyways.
At the very least, they should be sending down a guardsman or something.
At some point, yeah, and I think we've already discussed with whomever is acting as the de facto leader right now to detain the Castellan so we can have words if and when that happens anytime soon.
All right.
Words.
I have a few pointed questions to ask you, Dagger. All right. So, sounds like you're going to be settling in, everybody except for Kenthis, at the mansion. You're going to probably get try and get more information on the Castellan Lucian, and you're probably going to be pardon me for a moment. I'm coming down with something and my mind's just scrambled. All right. Well, it sounds like you guys have established yourself and your place in town. you have a pretty good idea of what it is that you're going to do next. Since we seem to be losing a little bit of steam and my mind is suddenly starting to go sideways on me, I think that I know we started late. I think I'm going to call that for the session for tonight. And then I promise you when we come back in 2 weeks, I will be more focused. And then we can pick up from there and have a little bit more thrilling heroics. All right. Did you guys have any other questions last minute before we end the session about just stuff that you might want to think about or otherwise address offline in between sessions that you just want to kind of like announce now?
Are we considering this our sleep time? Like, are we all going to sleep at the end of this session, or not really?
Yeah, we can say that. Because you came into town towards the end of the day, you guys were hustling to try and get in before actual nightfall. And so the whole scene at the top of the hill probably would have been taking place just before sundown. And so I would say that by the time you're done talking with her for the evening, you're probably well into the night.
Alright. Is Ashlyn done mourning?
She's going to be a day or two, so you could probably approach her sometime during the next session.
And as night falls, does it seem like the zombies are coming back and forth, or are our assumptions that they're kind of docile and undirected are true or not?
Well, you're only going to know what you can observe from the mansion. And since the mansion's on the edge of town, you don't see as much activity. But you do see some restless dead wandering around the streets, but they don't seem to be moving with any purpose or in great numbers. And they're not moving too terribly quickly. They're not, looking around or, moving on to the center of town for another big attack. They're just walking now that the sun's not there to keep them contained in whatever dark corner they hid in during the day.
Okay.
So it's totally legit if you just want to go out and cap a few zombies to help start the town as an evening patrol thing.
I'll toss pebbles for fun off my roof.
I think if the zombies aren't a direct threat, I think we should. At least I'm going to stick around the mansion and kind of make sure that Rghnar is and the whole household is safe.
I think a couple of us should go around and knock off some of the zombies. They get too close to the mansion, just because we don't want any false alarms. If somebody a more serious threat comes closer, we don't want to go, well, that's just the zombies. So maybe Heinrich and I can go out with a torch and end with some of them. They get a little too close.
And that's easily accomplished because so long as the doors are barred, anybody who's indoors after dark will be safe. It's only if you're out past curfew, let us call it, that you're going to be in any danger, but that's no way to live. So patrolling to take out a few that happen to wander near the mansion, totally legit, and it's not necessarily a combat encounter that we need to roll out this evening, because for now, it's just the zombies and they're just kind of wandering around. Tomorrow night or the night after, who knows what would happen. Maybe they're just regrouping, whatever has been behind this. But which of you were infected? Do you recall?
I was infected.
I was infected.
Okay. Those of you who are infected, you had, during the time that you were infected, felt this constant fatigue, as if you just wanted to lie down and sleep forever. But since you've come down from the battle of the church, you've noticed that fatigue is greatly lessened. And while you still don't feel well, you don't feel like you're having the onset of a deathly illness any longer. So it may be that the nature of the infection has changed. But I'm not revising the thing any further. Just
What exactly was the penalty again? Because to be honest, I completely forgot about it this session.
well, it'd be. I actually rewrote it after I told you guys what it was the first time. So the way it stands now, if you're infected, if you get hit by a zombie, you make a save to avoid infection. It's a standard save, so that's 11 or better. A critical hit always transmits the infection. An infected PC does not clear failed death saves at the end of a battle, and they lose their level in hit points with every failed death save or last gasp save. If you die, you immediately rise as a zombie.
Oh, so no
Unfortunately, I don't believe.
I think that needs to go on our list of priorities on things. I mean, I'm not infected, but on the other hand, I don't want you guys to get your ass kicked and then stand up and start chewing on my head.
And so far as I recall, none of you have any permanent failed saves on your record at the moment either. So it's
I think
not.
I do.
Oh, you do?
I think I failed one.
Yes, you want to be careful about that. Alright, so that's definitely something that you guys can add to your list of potential plot points. I don't know if, Pierce, you want to integrate that into your weekly...
Please do.
weekly summaries there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm writing down all of our list of potential investigation avenues right now.
Alright.
And I will definitely include them.
Okay, so I'm going to thank you all for another great evening. I enjoyed chatting before the game, and this was a fun session. I loved especially all the talk around burning down the church. That was fun. And this is one of the greatest and simultaneously worst things about running a game online like this, is that you get this sidebar with chat. That's great, because if you were doing this at a table, it'd be like people whispering to each other while there's other stuff going on, which is horrible. But it works perfect here. But on the other hand, nobody else sees this, so anybody coming back to watch YouTube afterwards, they don't see any of this great stuff that's going on.
I know at some point they were supposed to. I don't know if it's something they dropped or it's just they're working on it's taking a while. It's like the chat at some point I think was supposed to be archived as like comments on the video for hanging out on air, but
that would be wonderful. That'd be great. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast now. Thanks everybody, and everybody out there on the internet. Good night.